You can build a platform, you can build an API, you can build an architecture. You don't even need to be technical. I think as product managers, founders, entrepreneurs, we should start thinking is what is the purpose of this technology, of this business that we are. We saw the dot-com bubble just burst, and who survived to this? The ones that took like a proper decision, the one that built with a purpose. It's like when you're starting a fire, not just because you have the fuel and you have all the little ingredients, you're gonna start a fire. You need that spark.
Hello, welcome. Today I'm talking to Israel about building sustainably with AI. Israel, can you just give me a little bit of your background, how you build up your expertise in this area?
Oh, fantastic. Well, I guess I came to UK just to improve my English. I couldn't speak any English, so I decided, okay, where do they speak the best English? And I came to Cambridge. I managed to get a scholarship to study over here. I studied as well for the business school, and then in the business school, I started working for the university. They offered me to work with them in some spin-off the university companies. Okay, I building technology for them. And then I got the bug of being an entrepreneur, start building technology. So we are talking about back in 2005, 2006, we started already like shipping lessons, for instance, formatted as a podcast. And that was way before the iPhone came out. Since then, actually, we started working for security, started working for fraud detection, started working for making sure that the payments that were made by the right person. It was very early stages of artificial intelligence. Right now, actually, I'm working with a big credit card company. The same thing is fraud detection, but now it's deeper inside, it's making sure that we authenticate users, that we understand the patterns. We do a little bit of everything, actually.
I've heard it said that today every startup is an AI startup. If you're in a startup and you're not using AI, should you be? And is it already too late?
I was preparing for this interview and I was thinking of a meeting I had 7-8 years ago with Kutz Bank, that now it belongs to the NatWest Bank. And back then, actually, they already had a budget for everything that is artificial intelligence. We are working with them on onboarding customers, building what is a users platform, self-service, try to understand what is the best investment for them. And we are talking about more than 10 years ago. So it's not early, it's not too late in the sense that artificial intelligence 10 years ago is not what it is today. I think today is more approachable. The barrier has lowered a lot. If you don't use it, your competitors are using it. It's not here to replace human, it's here to enhance, to help you. It's an enabler, the way I see it, it's an enabler for you to go to market faster, to prove that your solution actually has traction. Because that's another thing. I believe that actually is investors nowadays, they want to see traction. So in order to invest on a particular company, they want to make sure that the customers, they like the platform, the solution, that the people is buying, that you are selling, okay? And I think artificial intelligence, it helps you to prove the concept faster. Nowadays, you can build a platform, you can build an API, you can build an architecture. You don't even need to be technical. You have all these predefined templates that the artificial intelligence understand, and you have all these platforms that actually just need to type it in there like in a chatbot. It will build it for you. I'm not saying that it's perfect, but definitely it can take you to MVP a lot faster.
You validated the prototype, and then you know what skills you're going to need to make it sustainable long term.
And at the same time, it's easy to sell. I think one of the problems that investors have is we have very little imagination. So when you try to explain it to us, we are not technical or we are too technical, or actually we have different experience that you do. So when you try to explain it to me, I understand a totally different thing. I see a totally different market, a different opportunity here. If you show it to me, then I understand what you mean here.
In one of the core lessons of product management is you always want to have a little bit of leverage in any negotiation that you go into. And when you're pitching to an investor, if you can say, I've already got this traction, I've already got the revenue, then you're just in so much of a better negotiating position when it comes to setting terms.
I think it's not just to give you leverage, but at the same time, move the conversation into a deeper level in the sense that now we are not talking about is this good, is not good, you starting, do you have knowledge, you don't have knowledge, is you prove it to me already. You know that there is a market. You prove it to me already that this is selling. You prove it to me already that you can build it. You know, so now we don't need to discuss that. I don't need to ask you about this. Now we move into okay, how much is going to be the company, how much is going to cost me to invest in this company.
So, in this new world where it's possible to prototype so quickly, does that mean it's now more important to be flexible than it is to be right in your initial strategy?
Actually, I have to say, let me stop in here. Is we are focusing too much in the prototyping, but I think as well is I see AI as an enabler in technology itself. Is we are talking about is not just building platform, but building new technologies on top of this. So we are talking about modeling proteins. So now for the pharmaceutical industry, everything is about modeling. Or actually, it's the bubble where I live. Everything is about modeling proteins and modeling drugs. It's in the world of robotics. It's a few years ago, everything was about the engineering of the robotics and the mechanics. Everything it was about the hardware. So now it's about the understanding that the robots can understand. So we are talking about enablers that you can build on top of this. So it's not just about prototyping, it's about taking and pushing technology farther than where we have reached so far. I'm sorry to interrupt you in here, but it's more than just prototyping.
No problem at all. So, having the ability to prototype quickly, having the ability to build these new technologies allows you to move quickly. But then, how do you know that you're moving in the right direction?
That's very good. I mean, actually, we were talking before about getting the feedback faster as well. So that is something I repeat a lot is speed without control is worth nothing. It doesn't matter how fast you go if you don't go in the right direction. So actually, AI helps you definitely to understand the opportunity, understand the numbers, to crunch the numbers a lot faster, generate data a lot faster, is discuss decisions. I mean, one of the things that we were talking in here is you are able to build faster and you don't need a team, but you are able to take decisions faster as well, and you don't need a team. So actually, you can brainstorm with AI. I do that every day. It's like, okay, can you find me a synonym to say this? Is how will you write this for this particular audience? Or actually, what are the strategies that you can suggest out of these different parameters?
I think that's a path that you have to take very carefully because, on the one hand, what AI is designed to do is to give you the conventional answer that 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people would reach if you ask the best question. Or do you disagree?
I disagree in the sense that that's what we see today commercially. That's what ChatGPT is doing. That's what Gemini is doing today. But what we have seen already, the ones that we are researching on this, that we have been working on this for many, many years, is we are way beyond that. Actually, just to give you an example, I'm sure that you may have seen this documentary on TV about a Go player. Go is one of these Asian games. Actually, you have black and white pieces that you move on
Yep,
a
yep,
on a
yep,
board.
yep.
Okay, and actually that game is very. I'm gonna say that it's not very conventional. It's not you need to do or you need to learn how to play. It's very creative. Actually, it rewards creativity. Okay, it's a lot of documentaries, a lot of researches. We are not talking about chess. We are talking about Go that actually reward creativity, and we have AI beating every single player in the world. So actually, it's creative. It's creating out of nothing. That's not right. It doesn't create out of nothing, but it's creating new things. We don't see that right now commercially. I agree with you that when you try to write a novel, that novel is already sounds like somebody else. Okay. But what I see, we have seen in the research world of AI is you can create out of nothing, new things, novelty things. You can take new decisions, new patterns, new proteins, new.
Every human decision in some way arises from the experiences that that human has had throughout their lifetime and on their journey. And every piece of advice that an AI gives you is a line drawn through a massive database of all of the instances of human behavior that have gone into that database. And so I can see how you expect creativity from both processes. I think it's important to understand the importance of creativity in product strategy and business strategy, because your creativity is your differentiation and your differentiation is your value.
Yeah, but I have to say as well that humans, we are limited as well. Humans, we are very predictive. I think machines can find those patterns very quick. All right. It's just to give you an example as well, where I see, this is my interpretation, where I see the difference between the machines and us. Is when you are solving a maze, okay, and you go ahead and you see a wall and you hit yourself against the wall, you say, okay, there is a wall. I don't repeat it. I just move on. It is true that many humans, they hit themselves against the wall many, many times. But the things, machines, actually AI, if it is properly implemented, it doesn't take it for granted. It says, okay, there is a wall in here today at this very minute, but it doesn't take for granted that it's going to be there tomorrow or it's going to be there 5 minutes later. So it keeps trying, because we're talking about machines that are able to test that that wall is still there, hasn't changed, a lot faster than us. So it's able to take to at least is try different models, different decisions, different outcomes a lot faster.
So what is the role of the human being in a world where AIs both doing predictable, automatable work and are capable of creativity? What's the role of the human?
The way I see it is making sure that this powerful technology doesn't get out of hand. Just to give you an example right now. Right now I'm working on a project as well that we call Forever Persona. It's what we do. I'm going to use big words in here. So what we do is we take the soul of the people and we digitalize. Actually, we take that makes Alden different from any other human and we put it in digital. And actually, we keep it for the future. So that means is I'm talking to you today, okay? But if tomorrow you are not here, for whatever reason, I still can interact with you. When I say interact, is I still can take decisions with you. What I'm taking is the way that you reason, the way that you use your logic, which is different of mine. Now, if you take this to a different level, instead of talking of Alden and Israel, we're talking about Steve Jobs. We're talking about Albert Einstein. We're talking about that different level. So imagine those people that we have lost, that they have a special way of reasoning. We can keep it, we can put them on a computer and we can interact with them and we can carry on the work that actually they stopped in the past because of the limitations that we have as a human. Okay. So what is the role of the humans? Is to make sure that actually is this humanity that we put in a box, okay, actually it doesn't take over the whole world. It goes into the right ethical direction. It's like, where is the limit? It's, yes, we put the soul of humans inside artificial intelligence, inside machines. Where is the limit? Do we want those machines to interact socially with us? So we have artificial intelligence wives, husbands, siblings, social interactions, or we just stop at the level that, okay, it's just for scientific reasoning, for commercial reasons, for entertainment. What is the limit in there?
Would you say that capitalism has done a good job so far on providing a ethical limit on how we use our systems?
Obviously not. It's actually the first use of artificial intelligence, drone technology, all this we can see now on the wars in Ukraine, on the wars in Gaza is no, definitely not. We can do a lot better than that.
Is that the change that businesses need to start making? Is to say the function of the human in this new world where we're creating, where we can do so much more quickly, is to start asking much more carefully what we should do.
I think as product managers, founders, entrepreneurs, we should start thinking is what is the purpose of this technology, of this business that we are building. We don't need to look at it just from the social point of view, but as a competitive advantage as well. It's like, is this going to give me a better revenue? Is this going to make my company stand out from other companies? We see this approach. We are not talking about greenwash. We are talking about real purpose behind the technology and the company we are building. I really believe, and my experience told me, that a purpose, it can give you a huge differentiation. It can make your company stand out from competition.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of consumers out there who make their buying decisions carefully and with consideration, and they're looking for products that align with their values and their priorities. And part of the job of a product manager is to position the business not just in what the product does, but in how the product is made to align with the needs of that audience.
And we can see as well that the market is willing to pay a little bit more for that extra effort. So once again, is what I'm telling you is that give us that competitive advantage. If your customer is charging X, you are charging X plus Y. You're charging a little bit more just because you have done your homework. Is you are providing a purpose. You're making the consumers to feel good, giving them the reassurance that actually they are not contributing to taking the world to the end of the days, but the other way around, that you are improving things a little bit more.
I've often, for a long time, I've felt that as a product manager, there are all these tempting choices in front of you where you can put the product into market, you can make profit from the product, and it's easy because you're doing things in ways that are maybe not entirely ethical. And the ethical choices, they can be as profitable or more profitable, but they're harder work. But with AI and with the tools that are now coming in, you can choose those more difficult answers because you've got so many more abilities to analyze, to organize.
Perfect. And that's what I mean by sustainable businesses. Okay. Actually, all these quick rush decisions actually doesn't make your business sustainable. When we say sustainable, we mean like future proof. Is we are talking about AI in here. One of the questions I get asked all the time is this a bubble? Is this a buzzword? And I will say there is a little bit of that as well. With any new incumbent technology, there is a little bit of bubble built around it. And so later it's going to burst. The same happened with the cloud computing. Is we were talking about is an enabler for all the companies to start building without having the infrastructure. The same with the internet. We saw the dot-com bubble just bursted. And who survived to this? The ones that took like a proper decision, the one that built with a purpose, the ones that think about the long-term strategy, not the short-term profit and benefit. One of the things I see a lot in the entrepreneurial world nowadays is we build with the exit strategy already in mind. We don't build for the long term. We don't build to build a legacy, to build something that's going to last, that's going to make the world better. We just build something for a quick exit, and it doesn't matter that it doesn't make any money. We have seen companies, I'm going to mention some names, Twitter. Twitter never made any profit. Has been sold very recently to Elon Musk, 40 billions. I never made a profit. And we see a lot of these companies being built now on top of the AI technology.
I think if there's one lesson that the dot-com bubble teaches very clearly, it's not enough to ride a new technology as it comes into the market. The fundamentals have to be there. Your product has to meet a need, and it has to make sense commercially. And those are the businesses that win long term.
You need to do the homework. That's my highlighting here. You need to think about this in the medium term and the long term. This is don't take rash decisions, and be wary as well of those so-called experts. And an expert, I built a business, is making 100 grand a month, is be wary of that. Yes, that may be true, but how long is going to last?
One of the things that these changes do is it changes the competitive environment. So Historically, large businesses have been serious competitors for small businesses as they try and enter, just because there's so much infrastructure in place. But with AI and the ability to build and prototype so much faster, small businesses can now disrupt markets quicker than ever.
Absolutely. It lowers the barriers of new entrants. Now, actually, technology is taking over many other different industries. Something that was traditional, we talk about pharmaceuticals in here. It's now technology is taking over the pharma industry. It's technology is taking over the banking industry. Technology is taking over many other industries. Anybody who is a little bit technical that has been working with this technology can already think about the different use case. And I think that's a very good differentiation as well. We didn't think about this. I don't think technology is enough differentiator, okay? But the use case is how you apply that technology. What is the use case in here? How to take advantage of that technology. Many times actually I get approached, okay, what is the best LLM, what is the best large language model for this particular use case? I think most of them, they can give you enough performance, but it's all about nailing down, polishing the use case for the user experience to be spot on. I think that's where many companies they are struggling nowadays. Everybody knows that you should use AI, or at least in my bubble, but not everybody is brave enough to put AI environments in front of the customers. Because what about if you get it wrong? What about if it is not right? So what about if the customer doesn't like it? What about if we are selling the wrong message in here? So is you need to nail down the use case in this case.
There are other lessons that we can learn from history as well, right? Because everybody's adopting these platforms like they adopted cloud platforms when that technology shift came in. And then there's this risk of being locked into choices that you will regret 5 or 10 years down the line. How do you select intelligently for your long-term future?
Actually, personally, I have a framework. I call it the CLEAR AI framework. Actually, is the C, for instance, stands for the context. So the first question that you need to ask yourself is why? Why you want to use AI? Or why you want to change anything? What is the purpose? I mean, once again, we go back to the purpose. It's not using AI for the sake of it. It's not using technology for the sake of it. It's what the purpose. You want to increase profit. You want to grow faster. You want to be more efficient. You want to remove a bottleneck in here. So that will be it. The second letter is the L for limit, the limitations, the lock-in, exactly what you were talking about. Is once that you pick the technology and you apply the technology, is make sure that you understand the limitations for now and for the future. How you make sure that your decisions today, they're future proof, that nobody's going to come back later. Say, why do you take these decisions when you know that actually this kind of technology, the switch off, this is something I see every day as well. I mean, I've been working with big tech companies. I've been working at Google. One of the things I see a lot is all these tech giants, they take decisions on big numbers. If they need to switch off a particular feature, they don't think about who is using that particular feature at that time. And that can kill a business. A big company switch off an API endpoint, or a big company changed the LLM model and now it doesn't behave the way that you implemented it, and that kills your business. Okay, so yes, actually, it's for anyone who wants to know a little bit more about the Clear AI framework, just come to my profile on LinkedIn, and I can talk about it a lot.
10 years ago, if you were in traditional manufacturing, one of the things that you would really, really be thinking about is supply chain and supply chain sustainability. What happens if this supplier goes out of business? What happens if the pricing changes? The more we're building on top of these platforms, the more we need to be in that same mindset of thinking, what's my supply chain for my business in the services that I'm using, and how sustainable is it?
Absolutely. Actually, I have learned a lot from supply chain, this world, in the sense that one of the problems actually I used to focus in the past is how do you make sure that they don't copy your idea. You send your product to China, let's say China, India, Spain, or whoever. And they copy it. What is stopping them to build instead of 1,000 units, 10,000 units, and selling the other 9,000 down the back door? So similar thing with the LLM. It's what it makes your platform, what it makes your technology, what it makes your product, your solution any different. It defends it from any other that is coming. Okay. I don't think we are thinking enough about this. I think we are building too fast, but we don't think about how do we defend our position when that we get there. It's because we don't have a medium long-term strategy. We just think about the here now, how quickly I can sell this.
And the other concern that I think every business needs to have when they're using AI is all of your interactions with the AI, those are data. So is there a risk that you're then passing on your competitive advantage, your differentiation to the rest of the world that is also using those AI tools?
I mean, that's something that is definitely happening right now. If you think about, I mean, I'm just going to focus instead of the whole history of AI, because everything builds on top of whatever we built before. So just a very good example is ChatGPT. If you think about the first generation of ChatGPT, it has nothing to do with the latest one. So those ones who interacted with ChatGPT 1 pay the price and they got all the bad results, all the nasty answers, all the bad answering from the ChatGPT. So now we build on top of that. So the latest version, the 5, actually is more aware of what is politically correct. It's more aware of diversity. It's more aware of security. It's all those ones implementing AI using that particular platform is using the latest model that has been built on all the interactions of previous ones. So yes, that happens as well. But that's, I think, is a little price to pay for how quickly you can build. If you were going to build your own LLM and you were to maintain it into your own infrastructure, it will cost you millions of dollars. Okay. However, it's a small price, I think, to pay in order to be able to build faster and get access to this kind of technology.
I think it takes you back to all of those fundamentals. So the reputation that you build with your customers as you put your product into the market, the relationship they have with your brand, that is not something that the rest of the world can adopt. And so the more that you're positioning yourself according to their values, their priorities, the more loyalty they're going to have to that product that you've built, even if other people replicate the functionality.
Absolutely, Alden. Once again, going back to what you mentioned before, the lock-in is how do you make sure that if that particular infrastructure that you're building or that particular technology stack that you are using changes, that you can keep your values, that your values don't change, that your customers still can get what they bought from you. How can you keep it if that technology changes? That is very important. So that's something to think about is how do we make sure that if this particular provider changes the way that they perform, we can move to a different provider that can give us what we lost when this particular provider is changed it.
So thank you so much, Israel. That was fascinating, and I think a really insightful view into the possibilities and challenges that lie ahead of so many startups today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.